I've been talking about Fantastic Four for a long time now in my anticipation for the film. And let me just tell you, I saw it. I recently saw it. I saw it on Friday. And my thoughts after the film, I'm very pleasantly surprised. I will say that. Because I wasn't really expecting anything from this film. Truthfully, I didn't want to be disappointed. And I was really, really excited. The film starts off really, really fast, right? A couple villains they fight early on, but particularly Mole Man. And I remember this report of the Fantastic Four going to be fighting Mole Man in the beginning of the film. But for some reason, man, I really like how they translated him to live action, and I really like that they included him because he's like probably a C-level Marvel villain, probably B-level Fantastic Four villain, a mainstay in the comics, nevertheless, but not a big bad by any means. But I like that, and then I think they had the Thinker too, and I forget the last villain, but nevertheless, I like it. It was cool. You didn't have an origin story for the Fantastic Four in this movie, and that's something I really appreciated because we've seen it twice already. With the, I believe it was 2004 version, or the 2005 version, where you had Jessica Alba, and then you had Fan Stick in 2015 with Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, etc. Which, I mean, we can all forget that. But we've already seen this origin story, so I really appreciated the fact that they just like went past it. We know what happened, right? They were in space, they got these powers, whatever. But really, really, really like that. So fast movie, right? You're into it. And something I also really did appreciate about this film is they didn't make anybody dumb. Like traditionally, you would have Johnny Storm, you would have Ben Grimm, the Thing, and the Human Torch. Kind of like, for lack of a better term, a little bit stupid for like comic relief. That wasn't the case. Like they all had a reason to be in space. They were all pretty intelligent. Nobody came off as dumb. I really liked how those two characters in particular were written. So you have them, they're fighting, and then Silver Surfer Shalabal comes. The female Silver Surfer, not a rewritten character, not a female version just for the sake, an actual female Silver Surfer. So Norran Rad, the original Silver Surfer, is still somewhere else, and it'll be cool when we find him. She comes down and she says the world has been selected by Galactus to be eaten, whatever. They go to Galactus, right? Fantastic Four, they go to Galactus. They say we're gonna save our world from Galactus, whatever. And as far as we know it, they're the only superheroes in this universe. It's not the main 616 continuity. It's, I think, 828 is what they said. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So they get there, and it's like this weird interdimensional thing where they go to Galactus's his lair, this planet, the ship, and it's like a tractor beam. So they get sucked in, kind of like the Death Star, like a nod to the Death Star, which was really cool. And their ship is like lodged in this big just fortress in space. And the female Silver Surfer, Shalabal, comes and she like kind of teleports through the ship and says, you guys shouldn't have come here, but whatever, you're going to meet Galactus now. And my favorite thing about this film, man, Galactus was overpowered, and I didn't know how he would translate into live action because we saw Fantastic Four Rise with the Silver Surfer in 2007, and he was a freaking cloud. But no, they nailed it to a freaking T, man. Galactus freaking translated to live action perfectly. 10 out of 10. Menacing. You get to see all of the tubes connected to him when he eats these worlds. Amazing. The damage that he does, right? To spoil it, he says the only way that I won't eat your world is if I can have your son. And Sue Storm is obviously pregnant with their son. Okay, so Franklin Richards is in her stomach at that point. They say no. We can't have him. Can't have our son. They escape. On the ship. They lose Shalabal, Silver Surfer. She tries to follow them. And I'm sorry for the lack of order in this movie review. It's still fresh in my mind. But they lose her, and then what happens is Sue Storm immediately goes into labor. And it's crazy because like they're like in hyperspeed basically, right? So they kind of hold her down. Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards holds her down, and she ends up having Franklin Richards, their son, and one of my two complaints with this film, and I get to my second in a little bit. But my first complaint is when she has Franklin, it appears to be a CGI baby in the beginning. And this is the CGI Franklin Richards is not throughout the whole film, but probably for the first 5 minutes he's on screen, he's CGI, which it's like, okay, I can look past that, but I would have really appreciated if it was just like a real baby, because like it was obvious it was CGI. But nevertheless, I'm nitpicking here. Whatever. We move past it. They get to Earth and they say, Galactus, there's going to be another way, because Galactus wanted our son in exchange for the world being saved, and we told him no. It's a non-negotiable. Everybody on Earth in the 60s 828 universe, I believe, pissed, right? All the reporters, they're rightfully so. They're very angry. They're gathering outside of the Future Foundation, which is included in this film, where they Fantastic Four are in the Baxter Building, and they're all like a mob, more or less, because they want their world to be saved. Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby, her character comes out, gives a heartfelt speech. She's holding Franklin. She's holding her newborn son, saying, we're all a family, and we would not give anybody up to save this world. We're all in this together. It's actually a really cool speech. She's the glue of the Fantastic Four, right? Very comic book accurate. So what happens? They devise a plan. They devise a plan for when they know Galactus is going to come. They have this really cool third act. People on Twitter said that this first and second acts were really, really good, but they hated the third act. Not true. The final battle in the third act is quite awesome. But they have this plan where they're going to have a portal to like the complete opposite side of the universe, where they're going to have Galactus. They're going to use Franklin. They're going to use Franklin, put him like at the center of this portal, and then Reed's going to turn it on. Well, Galactus comes, and spoiler alert, that doesn't happen. Galactus sees that instead of Franklin being in the carrier, which that's what they set it up to be, he's actually in the Baxter Building. And so what happens then is he starts to walk, right? And mind you, he comes down to New York, and he's destroying buildings, right? The camera angles are really cool. You're seeing the camera angle from his feet, just how massive he is compared to the buildings. When he first gets down to Earth, it's a camera angle, and I will say also, and I'm sorry for the lip smack, but I'm passionate here. I will say also, I really appreciated how they shot this film, particularly when it came to the last act of the movie. But nevertheless, okay, so he touches down, and you get this really cool angle with the Statue of Liberty, kind of like from, I would like to say from like the middle part of the Statue of Liberty, so it's like in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and you just see Galactus menacing over the Statue of Liberty. Insane angle, insane everything. I really, really loved this final act. Nevertheless, fast forward, right? So Galactus is going back to Franklin, where he actually is in the Baxter Building. And, you know, Kirby, I believe the name of the robot is Kirby. Kirby tries to put up a fight and shut the Baxter Building with like steel curtains, for lack of a better term, and it doesn't work. He snatches Franklin. And then so Reed is going after him and tries to get Franklin from Galactus. It doesn't work, and it ends up being, and he's fighting him off, and I think this is a little bit before. Yeah, it's a little bit before he gets to Franklin, but he starts pulling Mr. Fantastic. He starts pulling Reed Richards almost like a rubber band, which is quite crazy because he uses his strength against himself, which is really, really cool to see, just how powerful he is, right? Anyway, so Galactus gets Franklin, and all three of the Fantastic Four, besides Sue Storm, are powerless to stop them, right? And then we see the coolest act of any mother in the MCU for at least my recent memory. Sue Storm sees Galactus has Franklin. She goes to him. She uses all her power, and they're able to get Franklin from Galactus's hand. And she uses all her power to push Galactus back and get him into this portal that's still open. It can only be open for 37 seconds, so they didn't have a lot of time. And she ends up pushing him in. But what happens is he climbs out. He starts to climb out. Johnny Storm goes to sacrifice himself and push Galactus in, right? And with him, he would also be in the portal. completely opposite side of the galaxy, right? You think Johnny Storm is about to save Franklin, save this entire world, and sacrifice himself. And then the female server, Shala Ball, pushes him out of nowhere. She catapults Galactus back into the portal and saves the day. And you think, what an insane character arc, because she was Galactus's herald in the beginning, acting as his slave, right? It's also in the plot. In her character arc, Johnny Storm kind of confronts her, and it's revealed that she sacrificed herself for her world and her kids, or her child. So her world gets to survive while she is the herald of Galactus. And so that's like her motivation for being evil. But you see her character arc, and she becomes the hero. She becomes the one that saves this entire world from Galactus. So pushes Johnny Storm out of the way, and she catapults Galactus back into the black hole. Boom, it shuts, saves the day. But there's one problem. Sue Storm is dead. She used all her energy. She went OP. All her energy to push Galactus back, and she pushed him back. Try and get him in that portal. And she dies. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, he tries to give her CPR. Nothing. And you're thinking, damn, we all thought, damn, they're going to kill Sue Storm in her own movie, in the first iteration she's ever in the MCU in. And you're dumbfounded. Rightfully so. And then you see Franklin. At this point, he's a couple more months old. And you see Franklin, and he's crying. And he's reaching out for Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm. He's reaching out for his mother. Okay? And Galactus told him early on, before he said he was going to eat their world, that Franklin Richards is going to be the successor, right? So his eternal hunger will stop. Going to be a very powerful being. And they're like, okay. Obviously, they were freaked out. But then you see Franklin touches Sue. He touches his mom. And he heals her, which is insane. So now we can kind of understand how powerful Franklin's going to grow up to be. Immediately heals her. And everybody's in awe. Everybody in the theater just started clapping. It was insane. This movie was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And obviously the big spoiler, if you haven't seen the movie, go see the movie. But there's two post-credit scenes. The second sucks. It's just a cartoon of the Fantastic Four from the 60s, whatever. But the first one, we see it says 4 years later, and it's Sue, and she's in the kitchen, whatever, or she's in the Baxter building. And she's talking to Franklin, and then all of a sudden, silence. And you're like, what? And she walks over, it pans to the living room, and it's Franklin. And he's looking at none other than Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. And the whole theater lit up. Everybody was so excited. And you didn't see Robert Downey Jr.'s face. You saw the back of the Doom hood and the Doom cape. You could see he was holding the mask. And there's a lot of theories about this. They're saying Franklin potentially healed Dr. Doom's scarred face. So now he looks like Robert Downey Jr. We'll get into that in a second. But this film, man... Obviously, the world is saved, and they're not on Earth yet. So that final battle they won, and everything was preserved, and it was a really good family movie. I was really happy about it. This isn't a masterpiece by any means, but it was a very, very enjoyable Marvel movie. I gave it like a 7.9, 7.8, maybe like an 8 out of 10. Solid. Very, very good. I really enjoyed this film. One knock other than the CGI baby, if you're still watching this video. So the Fantastic Four, obviously you had Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. You had the guy from Stranger Things, forgetting his name, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. And then you had the guy from The Bear. I believe his name is last name is Moss. Regardless, he played the Thing. All three of them were excellent. In the beginning, I had a very hard time buying that Pedro Pascal was playing Reed Richards, was playing Mr. Fantastic. And this is not his fault. He did a fine job. But you see him in everything that I couldn't get past the fact that it was Pedro Pascal. I couldn't buy that he was playing Reed Richards. Early on, it looked like Pedro Pascal was playing Pedro Pascal, and I was watching 3 of the Fantastic Four plus Pedro Pascal, if that makes sense. But throughout the film, you start to get it, and you start to buy it, or at least that was me. I bought it, especially to the end of the film. You grow with the characters because there's a real arc there. You see Reed in particular, he's planning, he's scheming, he's thinking of all the worst possible solutions, right? He's going to be a father. He's very worried. And you see he still has a little bit of worry at the end of the film, but he's kind of conquering it. Same with Sue. I mean, Sue is now a mom. She's more secure. She brought the team together, was going to give the ultimate sacrifice and give her life to save the world. And the world is more cohesive. And the same goes with Ben and Johnny Storm. They're closer than ever, and the 4 of them are very close. And so you just see that, right? There's a love story with Ben and one of the ladies. It's not Alicia, his typical love interest from the comics. It's another girl. But he has that, and he has a love interest now. And then same with Johnny. Johnny has grown up a little bit. He was ready to sacrifice himself, and he's an uncle now. And so is Ben. You get to see that family dynamic, and it's truly remarkable to still get not a grounded MCU project, because it wasn't by any means, but still the Marvel Cinematic Universe is pumping out good content and good films. And so the next movie is Spider-Man. And I don't know, man, where this goes. It's going to be really exciting to see where this goes. The Avengers Doomsday comes out, I believe, December of 2026. The next Marvel movie doesn't come out until July of 2026, which is Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is going to be a grounded MCU film. Very excited about that. You get Spider-Man, you get Daredevil, you get Punisher, and then reportedly they're going to fight the Hulk. So we'll see. But if there's going to be any time to really do this shit and build things up, it's now. Please, Marvel, don't rush it. Because it already kind of feels rushed, but in reality, it's been 5 years since 2020 when this shit started to kick off. I wish it felt a little bit more cohesive, but nevertheless, we're here now. So I like the film. I think you should go see the film. It's a fun film. It's a good film. You're gonna like it. Because I know I did, and I know the whole theater that I was in absolutely loved it, especially that post-credit scene. So that's all.